Tom, I'm going to ask this question of you because you are the one that has a significant other at this point of the two of us.
Guilty as charged.
Would you want an app that tells you what your significant other is thinking
No.
24/7?
No. 24/7. Give me a minute a day. 24/7 is madness. Every hour of that crazy little, and I use crazy in a very affectionate way here, that little noggin of hers, no thank you. I've got my own chaos going on. I don't need 24/7 access to hers.
Would you like any amount of access to what she's thinking?
No, because I'm a private guy myself. I value my privacy, right? And the idea that someone else could have
right, so
insight
you
into
wouldn't
mine,
want it because
no,
it could be
thank
reciprocal.
You. Yeah, no, thank
Okay,
you. I don't,
okay.
Yeah. I'm not interested. I don't
I'd
care
like to
enough.
be able to
really,
ask like one question a month, maybe. Just be like, if I could ask one question like each month that have
But
absolute
what would
truth.
you ask that they're not already answering like honestly?
Are you being
to?
honest with me about everything?
Oh my god, really?
I don't know.
They're gonna say, and the answer will be no because there's white lies in relationships.
I know.
There's
Look, maybe
little
I'd
fibs.
just be like, do you really think I look good in this dress? No, I'll take it off. Okay, great. Just every now and then I'm just like, what would you really like for Christmas that would blow your mind? Or like, what would you really,
Sure. So there's
when you say you're fine, are you actually fine? Or is there something I could be doing to help? Like...
Yeah, but sometimes fine is just a nice placeholder to get through this minute or this little conversation.
Okay, shoot
but
me
yes,
down,
I'm sure there can be
fine.
shortcuts like what do you really want for dinner, right? You're allowed to, I want you to look me in the eye and say you want hot chips for dinner because I know that's what you want, but I need you to say it, right?
Yeah.
Rather than me doing the song and dance about making a salad and all this bullshit. No, if I can just open up your brain and have that answer given to me. Yeah. So there could be little things, but no. Overall, no. Bad idea. I think.
Welcome to Ghosts of Boyfriends Past.
Yes,
I have
hello.
been suitably chastened. I am Liz Best.
Who of you readers would say yes to that?
Tom Harris would not.
No,
Clearly.
I would not. But some people, some fools, in my opinion, who don't think it through enough.
Okay, well, on that, I'm going to ask our guest what she thinks. We have a lovely
Split
guest.
this.
Her name is Alice. Alice, would
Hello,
you
Alice.
want an app that would tell you what your significant other is thinking?
I can see both sides so well, and for me, I feel like it's a phone a friend situation.
Is the friend me?
Right? Like every now and then, something will happen with your significant other, and just be like, "No, I need the phone the friend right now. I need the app in this moment.
In this moment,
Yes, but
I
Not
need
an all the
that.
time. Like a
24/7
Hail
is too much.
Yeah,
It's too
24/7
much.
is too much. 24/7 is way too much.
much.
That's interesting. All right. Well, look, our guest today is Alice,
Yes.
and Alice has come in to tell us a story.
Hi.
And I figured that since it's our first main episode of the year, we just jump straight into the story. What do you think? Let's just get to it.
Fine.
Right.
Get
Absolutely
to-
fine.
Take me to dinner.
Let's absolutely not.
No, you knew what you're here to do. What do you need? Whining and dining first. No one else comes on this show. Oh, dinner, please. Come on, get to it.
No, it's fine. I've had dinner before I came
Great.
here.
Great.
See,
Wonderful.
Full stomach.
Yeah.
We're ready to
Great.
do it.
But are we going to be so lazy and cool that we don't broach any rules?
No,
Or
we're going to
just-
broach the rules
Oh,
because we
please.
legally
Oh,
have
please
to
don't.
broach the rules. Okay, so the rule number 1 is that you have to have an alias for everybody that you're talking about,
I can do
unless you
that.
have permission to mention
Yes,
their
that's
name.
right. Absolutely.
Rule number 2 is the
Well, Columbo's at home,
Yep.
piecing together who Alice is and the people they're talking about today. We don't want sharing of phone numbers, nothing malicious, nothing no doxing behaviour.
No.
We're here to hear a story, kind of wrap it up with a what did we learn endeavour, and then we're just going to let it be. Keep your pitchforks and torches for other endeavours, other
Yes.
righteous causes.
Other endeavours. All the
For righteous
there are
endeavours.
so
use your
many.
weapons for.
There are so many at the moment, Alice. There are so many.
You know, let's do something about the environment or social issues. You don't need to go
just
after
as
our guests.
a quick aside, I often wonder how many of our listeners actually know who Columbo was / is.
Well,
I want to know. Do you
they're-
know who we're
Gosh,
referring to
I
when
feel
we
like
say
I'm being
no
put on the
Columbos?
spot. I swear
Oh,
I'm
no, not you.
intelligent.
Not you. I call our readers with good reason.
Do you
They-
mean
they-
Columbo like Columbus?
No.
No.
Oh, well, okay. Well, that's
Like
all
TV
that I'll
detective
go.
Columbo. Basically, he was this old cool TV detective and, figured stuff out.
Okay,
like Armchair Detectives
Like a
is what
Sherlock?
he's saying. Yeah.
Gotcha.
But like later than Sherlock, like what, 70s, 80s? Peter Falk played him, the guy from Princess Bride who was the grandfather, As You Wish.
And our third rule is no threats on air, on microphone, please, Alice. And thank you. Please and thank
Okay,
you. This isn't just for you.
fine.
This is a blanket rule for all. You didn't walk in today and we went, Jesus, better bring up the no threats rule. Ooh.
All right. Alice, situate us. Where does your tale begin?
Well, so I guess like the precursor to like the story is this story isn't actually about me.
Mm-hmm.
This is a story about me being adjacent to a relationship and being really tied and sort of pulled into some like a drama and unfolding and
Love it.
I just thought it was really, because I've been a long time lurker and listener of the show, and a lot of people are like the star of the story, and I'm like, I have a great story, but it's like not about me.
But the thing
yeah.
is, it sort of is about you, because a lot of people don't know how to react when people are having weird relationship problems and how to deal with being dragged into that stuff. So it is about you. It's about being relationship adjacent and how to navigate that.
Yeah. So my friend in this story called Charlotte.
Okay.
Wink.
Noted.
Okay.
Yes. Very good.
Charlotte and I were really good friends from primary school way up until our adult life. Like the friend that you have through thick and thin, through puberty, like you
If they can
learn
last
how
through
to
puberty, like they're friends.
yeah, like people that you learn how to become an adult next to.
And they know all of your daggiest dreams, and they've seen you dress weird and try
Yes.
things, and they just know all those bits of DNA about you, all
And
those
this
ugly
was,
bits.
the era of like we would code our MySpace pages together.
Yes. Yes.
Like real, just
Yes.
big dag energy.
Love it.
So we grew up together, and we didn't actually go to the same schools. We were like extracurricular activities is what tied us together. So she had a pretty like solid friend group that like actually went to school with her, and then we sort of became this like almost like Sex and the City group after school. And so we're, adults being adults and da-da-da. And Charlotte starts dating somebody called, let's call
Bryce.
Ooh.
Ooh. Now,
I
how
don't
are we
know.
spelling that? Is that
Bryce.
Is that what it was?
B-R-Y-C-E. I don't know. It was the first name that came to
And
my
that
head.
is not their name, so we're good.
Great.
Mandatory Y in Bryce as well.
Bryce.
If you can only have the Y.
Yeah.
I think.
Why?
Yeah.
So-
Why?
Why indeed?
So Charlotte started dating Bryce, and for all intents and purposes, I love her to bits, but I just thought it was a really strange match. She is a very, and I say this with love, high maintenance girly.
Okay.
A real like, okay, maybe I don't mean this in a derogatory way, but it does paint a picture. A private school girly,
Okay. Yeah.
like has a lot of interest and worth in things that if you have a bit of cash to splash around, great.
Yes.
Designer stuff. Like went to her high school formal in a designer dress.
Tis a life of privilege.
We are
of which
living
we are
it.
speaking.
Yes.
And I was a public school girly, so
Yeah.
not the same experience. But a very different personality to her partner Bryce, who was very much a shy nerd, quiet boy,
Right.
next to her like boisterous,
Oh,
popular
she would
girl
eat
kind of
him
energy.
up.
So
Well,
you're
that's kind of what it looked like.
so your initial sort of doubts or whatever is more like they don't match rather than anything like hinky or red flaggy. Like
it was
why
more
are they?
of a your archetypes
Yeah.
don't seem to blend on the outside.
Right. Okay.
But they brought out like wonderful cute things in each other. Like she
Yes.
really lent into the nerdy side, and like they got obsessed with D&D together and like all these like, cute wonderful things. And Bryce came from a very I guess shut off family life, and he and I connected over that because Charlotte has this huge family, and she'd lived in a family house of like maybe 20 people would live in this McMansion at any given time.
Gee whiz, that's a lot of
Like a
Okay.
What's not
A rich people commune.
a blended family?
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like
yeah.
a sort
like
of
a Brady Bunch.
yeah,
kind
a
of.
little bit.
A
and
billion
then
people living under the one
a
household.
little
right.
bit, and then Bryce was a child of a single mother that was in a very like sort of sad situation, and he knew it, and it just wasn't great. And I had a similar sort of thing where I just was very disconnected from my family, so we would bond at various events, you know, next to the contrast that is Charlotte.
Yep.
And to the point where they got engaged, and which was great and wonderful, and everyone was like, oh my gosh. And like he invited all his family and none of them came because they didn't support it.
Jeez.
And like it was just really bleak. So he was just not feeling great and would come to me because I was probably the most approachable of Charlotte's friends to be like, it's all good, you're fine. And probably a little bit of context before like the big dramatic thing in the story that I'll talk about is we all grew up in a place that I don't live in anymore, but they all still do.
right.
So when I moved away, and I moved a couple of hours away, it then became like they all stayed really connected, and I would only see them like once a year or something, just
Right.
because life,
Life. Yeah.
you know? Like I moved away to study, and then that became my job and my work and my career and da-da-da. So it just kind of meant we like grew apart, but it was that friendship where you would still be like, no time had passed. Sit
Right.
down for
Yes,
dinner and
yep.
you'd like bitch about everything, and just it all came back naturally. But one day, this is where the story begins. One day I got a manic call from a number I didn't know, hadn't added in my phone, and this was also the time where you would answer random numbers.
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel like that's not a thing
Yeah.
anymore.
No.
20 years ago when the house phone rang, it was an event.
Yeah.
We sprinted to answer it. Me and my sisters were so excited. It was never for you when you're 10.
Oh wait, I just realized I forgot something.
Okay, go back.
Going back, they got engaged. Cute. I was asked to be one of the bridesmaids.
Okay.
Cute.
Right, you're in the
I'm
list.
in the bridal
yes,
party.
well done.
Good time. Well done. Life achievement. This is actually the first wedding as an adult that I'd been like invited to, let alone in
Yes,
the
that's
wedding.
good.
So I was really excited about it, and also being like, I've known you since we were kids. Like,
It's
like,
not that
yeah.
exciting.
Well,
I've been a
I've
bridesmaid
learned.
like 6 times. It's bad.
A way to flex that.
No, I love the people, but every time I go, I'm never doing this again. Every time I do it again. Except the most
no.
recent one. My former guest Carly was actually a really chill bride.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Well, then that's a perfect segue to Charlotte was not a chill bride.
Not chill, not
Not
the word
a
you would
chill
use. not
bride,
chill.
but also not surprising to anyone. Like, of course.
Yeah, look, if you're
Of
a little bit
course.
high maintenance, you're going to be
It's gonna
like that just goes
ramp
into
up.
overdrive in wedding time.
But I got this, I think that's all the context we need, but I got this call, random number. I was like, that's weird. And it was Bryce in a real disarray, and it was very strange. And I could tell in a way that he was like having a panic attack or something.
Okay.
Like he was very mentally not with it or there during this conversation. And I was like, what's going on? And he's like, Charlotte's kicked me out. I don't understand. Blah, da, 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 da. And I was just like, whoa, back it up. Also, small voice in my head being like, why are you calling me?
Yeah.
Like, I'm such a random connection to all of this.
Yeah.
I think it could have been because I would
Maybe
be
you're
like
one
a good,
step removed.
yeah, like this good middle ground person.
yep.
Not someone who's in their business every day.
Yeah. So he called me, and I was just like, okay. Let's take some deep breaths. Tell me some stuff. What's going on? And he's like, well, I'm in my car, and I'm probably just going to sleep in my car because I don't know what to do. And I'm like, okay,
Whoa.
this is getting real intense.
Is this
Like,
a
what
nighttime
happened?
call? Is this a nighttime
This is
call?
an approaching nighttime
Okay,
call.
yep,
So like
getting
a
late,
4
yep.
p.m.,
Okay.
5 p.m. kind of
Gotcha.
call.
Thank you.
And just the context of it was all a bit strange. And he started telling me about the nature of this fight that he had with Charlotte, which was, you know, just classic screamy match about something that got blown out of the water. Love Charlotte to death, but this is kind of her speed.
Yep, sure.
And it just really messed with him.
And how far out from the wedding are we? We're wedding approaching, right? We're wedding imminent, and suddenly there's a breakup, or are
fun
we?
fact, we were wedding imminent, but it was early 2020s. So what we didn't know,
Little did we know.
little did we know that wedding was not going to happen.
I don't think we need a history, bit of
Everyone
history
knows.
lesson to remember
For all
2020.
intents and purposes,
Yes.
the wedding was a couple months away.
Sure.
And it was
There's a
definitely
wedding
going to
happening.
go ahead.
Yeah, you're planning a wedding.
Definitely
Where
a
we-
global
Definitely.
pandemic was not going to put those plans on hold.
No. Okay, yes.
And like, I think at that point, I was the only bridesmaid that had like actually got her dress
Oh,
because I was like real keen.
yeah.
And I was like, yay. And I think all the other girls were just like, oh, we'll get something. Don't worry about it. To me, I was a bit like, come on, be more excited. Jeez.
Yeah. They've probably been bridesmaids before.
Okay. I'm just ratting myself out, really. So he called me in disarray, and I was like, I think I should, you know, talk to Charlotte. And he's like, please don't. She would be so mad at me. And my like naivety was like, okay, cool. We'll, you know, hostage situation this. We'll agree with the hostage to like help him out.
Yes.
Also knowing this guy, he's not slimy in the slightest. He's kind of like so innocent that it's like, how have you survived this long?
Yes.
You want to wrap him in cotton wool and put him in your pocket?
Yeah.
Yep.
So to me, I'm like, it doesn't really seem very sinister. It genuinely seems like Charlotte kind of blew up at him, and he just, unfortunately, is at the wrath of Charlotte for today.
I feel like Alice is just looking at the faces I'm making, being like, yep, you know what's coming.
They're not good. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, I'm real nervous.
Yeah,
You
I hate
really
this
could
feeling.
feel like I
contorted your
can
face.
see where this is going, and it's making me very
Well, you never
uncomfortable.
know, Liz. You never know.
Look,
You
here's my
never
red
know.
flag, right?
Right?
Go for it.
Let's-
I
let's-
really want to.
have
Don't
it.
tell your best friend we're having this conversation. That scares me.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
Anyway, continue. Let's just hear what the story is, and then
Yes.
yes.
So me being like, Bryce is clearly in a bad situation, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to do, in my head, it was like the ultimate bridesmaid's duty. I'm going to make sure the groom doesn't die overnight sleeping in a car park, right?
Very noble of you.
Very noble of me. So I'm like, come over to my house. I know it is about an hour's drive away, but you can cool off from whatever this is. You'll have a roof over your head. I will talk some sense into you and smack your ass on the way and
Yes.
send you back to Charlotte, right? So
Right.
whatever you've done wrong, I'm going to sort of just make sure you're not in a bad place. Because I think like, and I didn't know this at the time, but then I got more context when he eventually arrived at my house that like he's previously been a suicidal person before
Yeah. Okay.
and that sort of stuff. So my initial reaction of like, this person's in distress. I can't just be like, sounds like a you problem and hang up. So I'm really glad that I did help.
I think you might be tainting with your past actions with hindsight. I think in the moment you made good choices and good actions,
the
and
same
trying to
time-
help someone in distress is always a good thing
Liz's
to do.
face is also the
someone
other-
someone
it's the
called
devil,
you.
the angel,
It's
my
not a
shoulder.
bad thing. Someone called you in distress and they needed help, and you were like, "It might be not my job, but I'm going to try and help this
And
person."
yet,
I know, it's a good thing. It's
he
I
said,
know,
"Don't
I-
tell your best friend
Yes,
that we've talked."
it's-
Which I agree. Red flag.
Yes,
have
I do
learnt
agree. I
the
do
error
agree.
of my way.
I
But
do
like
agree.
on the surface of it, I too am a fixer and would have tried to fix things in a slightly different way, but I still would have tried to fix things.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Let's
it's a good
So,
thing to do.
you know, basically being in this situation where it's like, I am, for all intents and purposes, the cute third wheel. I now feel like this really big fight, if it's not handled well, will break up Charlotte and Bryce. So I-
Bridesmaid to the rescue.
Right. So
Yeah.
I was like, you know, I don't want to, on some level, I was like, I don't want that on my conscience of like, if I just told him to go suck it and then they broke up like the next day, like that would just kill me. So he came over, talked it out, sort of mini therapy session, because, you know, a lot of men need a therapy session from someone that is not a therapist. I don't understand.
Just go to a therapist.
Just go to a therapist. Anyway, I think for him, it really helped having just the perspective of the fight ended up being between he overstepped a boundary with Charlotte's sister of like getting upset at one of their kids or something.
Right.
And he's a guy that works with children, so he's not like a dangerous guy or weird with
And it would
children.
also
I think it
be-
was just a bad moment.
It would also be an automatic reflex to
Yes,
try and
it sounds like that.
give advice or care for
If
children
Yeah.
or discipline a child
so I
because
think it
that's
was
your job.
like you're not their dad, F off.
yeah.
And then Charlotte was like, how dare you do that to my it just whatever it was, I don't think it should have blown up as big as it did, but
Right.
because buttons were pushed,
Mm-hmm.
buttons were pushed.
And if
Yes.
people don't know how to fight well and effectively, people are going to get nasty and buttons are going to get pushed.
Yeah. In saying that, this is just his version of the story.
Of course.
I
Yes,
was
yes,
not
of
there.
course.
It could have been way worse, da-da-da. But I essentially gave him like the therapy talk of,
Yeah, knowing he
this is
worked.
how you smooth it over. I've known Charlotte for like 10 years. Like, she is just fiery in the moment. She loves you to death. I'm sure of it. Go back, do the whole rom-com apology, da-da-da-da-da. And he was just in a real distressful way. And I was like, but you also, I think it's best that it comes from you. You've sort of told me, don't tell Charlotte that I'm at your house right now. I'm like, okay, cool. That's fine. But you have to tell her when I send you off tomorrow.
Good.
Second you
yes.
get there, go, I was at Alice's house. I was safe, da-da-da.
A+. Good.
You know, and I was just like, you know, I'm not getting, I think it was also like, I want to help, but I also don't want to be in the middle of it.
No,
So it's like that-
especially if she doesn't know that you're in the middle of it. That's one surefire way to make someone feel like they've been manipulated, that you've been talking about her without her knowing that conversation has occurred. So well done
Yes,
on
agreed.
sending
It's
him
a
back.
gold star on your forehead for that move.
Well, thanks,
done.
Scott.
It's a good move.
Still, there was some elements that I probably didn't handle the best, but, you know, because, you know, on some level, maybe I should have just been like, Charlotte, I'm sneakily on the phone and he's here and da-da-da. Like, maybe I should have done that. Besides the point. So, talk it out with him. He's really just emotionally not okay, but I'm just like, spend the night. I've got a couch. So you're not sleeping in a car, Jesus. And he has no one. Like,
And at this
genuinely is a
point-
lonely guy. That
at this
his
point-
world is Charlotte. And if he doesn't have Charlotte, he sleeps in his car. Like, that's
And he's at your house, which is an hour away at this present time.
Yes,
So that would be
yes.
difficult for him to get back anywhere. Okay.
Yeah, but at the same time, he has a car, so he could just drive back. But besides the point, next day, I'm just like, you good to go? And he's like, yeah, absolutely. And I'm like, yeah, good. Let me know how it goes. But, you know, it's got to come from you that you seeked my counsel. That's not great.
Sort.
Good thing that's not, English is not my job. And I did like a little text check-in that afternoon, just being like, you know, hope it's all okay and da-da-da. And he didn't respond for a bit, but I'm just like, you know, fix your relationship, go do that. And then a couple of days later, he was like, it's all good and everything's fine now. I'm like, great, cool. And I'm like, have you talked to her about coming to my house? And he's like, no. And I'm like, okay, that's weird. Why?
Mm-hmm.
And he couldn't really give me a straight answer. I think it's because he was still like in the doghouse and didn't want to fuck up more. But to me, I'm sitting there going,
You're fucking up more by concealing any type
Yeah.
of
That's
information.
the-
Absolutely.
and to
You're
me,
digging yourself a
I'm
grave.
just like, I'm just blissfully unaware, being like, why would it be an issue?
And
Just
then it's
tell
gonna
her.
look like shit because you also haven't told her.
Because I was like, it needs to come from you. So now it's been pushing a week. So I'm feeling weirder and weirder. And I'm just
Yep.
like, you need to talk to her or I'm going to have to talk to her. And he's like, okay, I will. And then at some point, I think that happened. And then she called me and she initially went off.
Yeah.
And I got the wrath of
So
Charlotte.
you open
Yeah.
your phone. Hello, Alice speaking, and it's just
Pretty
it begins
much
Away.
from the
It's
get-go.
just, how can
And
you-
I was kind of like, you know what, I'm going to let, you know, the tsunami go past and then I'm painting her in a terrible light. She's a lovely person, but just when you
There's
fuck
something
with her,
about
you fuck
weddings
with her. So
that makes people who are already a little bit thingy extremely thingy.
yes. So then it became a really bad, like, Alice, the fact that you didn't tell me where he was, like, you don't know how bad that night was for me because I was out looking for him. I was contacting everybody. He was actively not answering any of my calls, so I thought he was dead. And I was like, like, I wish he was an adult enough to just let you know that he would be safe. But then it was this debate of, like, how involved do I get? And I didn't get enough involved. So now I've caused my friend all of this, like, turmoil. And I apologize, and she's like, just not feeling great about it. Give me some space. I'm like, absolutely, girl. No worries. And then pandemic hit. Bada bing, bada boom. So the wedding has been postponed, kind of comes through.
Yes.
I haven't heard from either of them for a while because I'm trying to give her space.
But COVID is the reason stated for the cancellation of the wedding,
yes,
right?
Yes. So
okay.
I assume for all intensive purposes, it's just the way anything was postponed in COVID. And then I did a couple more, like, timid check-ins with her, being like, are we good?
Yeah,
or like, still trying to give you space, but how are you? And then this has been months and months and months by this point, almost a year later. And there's no, like, new date for the wedding. Because at that point, you didn't really rebook anything.
No, because no
like,
one
it just,
knew when we were getting
it was
out
so
of
up
it.
in the air. And then I got added to a group text chain. And this is, I'm not going to say it's, like, the most horrific thing that I've been involved in, but it's, like, definitely the most, like, high school-y behavior that I've ever been involved in as an adult.
Is this like where you get, like, three-way called, like, Mean Girl style?
So much so. So I was in a group. I was added to this, like, group thing, which was
How many people?
Charlotte and her 3 other bridesmaids.
Yep.
One of them was the sister that had been scorned by the lover. 2 of them I'd also known for about 10 years.
Right.
And to me, this was very, like, I understood it, but it also was so left of field because I hadn't really talked to her in a while. But she just ripped into every part of my character, paragraphs and paragraphs.
Oof,
and
yes.
like,
To an audience.
Like
that's
and
rude.
that's what's the worst part about it is that then, because it's this group chain, the other girls would chime
pile
in with, like, gift sets of, like, Taylor Swift, like, clapping to them. Like, it was just so performatively nasty.
Yes. I'm going to be not only will I be horrible to you, I could do that anywhere. I could choose any avenue, but I'm going to do it with witnesses, and not just witnesses. My sister, who's obviously going to, and my other close best fucking friends who are going to pivot to my
And
side.
I'm going to bottle this shit up for like
good
months and then unleash on you publicly rather than communicate like a...
And it was the most ultimate mic drop of, you're joking if you think you're my friend. You've never treated me like this. And just, like, I think any other moment between our friendship that was, like, a little bit icky got brought up in the most just paint on the wall kind of way.
Yeah.
And, I was already at this point kind of like dog with a tail between my legs.
Yeah.
Being like, probably didn't handle this the best. I am sorry and I want to make it up to you. And she's like, no, you are the worst person that I have ever laid my eyes upon for these reasons. Got extremely personal. Also started getting into, like, this is why your ex left you. This is why your parents did this and this. Because I've, shared my whole life with this person.
Yeah.
And then just...
No.
a bunch of messages being like...
this is fighting dirty, and you need to learn how to not fight dirty and communicate your feelings without fighting dirty, because dirty fights can happen between friendships as well as in relationships.
Yes,
you go below the belt, and it's just it's a way of... it's difficult to come back from.
And I, was distraught, but was also like, true colours. Okay. So... politely took screenshots, because that's what you do on this day.
Get those receipts, girl.
Took a couple screenshots and just bowed my head out and was like, cool, I've lost all those people in my life, awesome.
Jesus.
And it's such a
And-
weird position because you're like, I either get in the mud with you and to
It's like, do you want to
get-
fight dirty with them, or do you want to,
do
you
I-
know, take the high road?
Homer Simpson into the bushes, maybe?
or fade out or ignore it because you want to take some of the
thing
things on
that's
board. It's
making
weird.
me cranky is that like that wasn't even you were in a group chat and it kicked off. It was you were added to a group chat to be like you were in the stocks and they were throwing tomatoes at you.
Yeah. So that all went down and I was like, cool. And it really put this like lens on all my other friendships and relationships where I was just like, I need to treat everybody around me nicely because what if I am this really horrible person? Really messed with my head
I mean,
for a
it
while.
would lead to a bit of introspection, but
Oh, and then because it's me 10 times.
So they have valid points here.
Yeah. So just a magnifying glass on my life.
Oh, that's horrible.
But they all then, you know, blocked me on everything and da-da-da, as you do in this day and age of social media. And I must have been friends with a friend to find out like a year or so afterwards that they did end up getting married.
Oh.
right.
So saw because someone got tagged in a photo of it, of just like a random wedding shot. Because you know how everybody puts like the whole wedding album
Yes.
up on Facebook? So I was like, oh, dang, it went through. And part of me was like, you know what? I'm kind of happy to be the bullet that was taken for them to be happy. But then the other part of me is like, if their relationship was so fragile that they had to shoot me dead to make it work, and that's the debate that I've had in my head ever since this whole debacle. And so and it's like this thing of not often in relationships do you get to put in your 2 cents. I think even like a lot of times someone will be like, so this is my new blah, blah, what do you think? And, you know, for the most part, and hopefully because they're a good person, you're like, they're great.
Yes.
And then they might break up and you'd be like, I hated this about them. Like, it's weird to have that moment literally put on you where somebody comes into you in distress and you feel this like, if I'm not like well-spoken in this moment, I feel like it could break them up or something. And just, it just had this weird like butterfly effect feeling of like, if I handled that situation differently, how would it all have been different? And this epilogue to the story, because I was like a little bit of a orphan at Christmas sometimes. And so I would crash Charlotte's big obnoxious family things at Christmas. And then when Charlotte and Bryce were together, he was a Christmas orphan too. It's also how we connected on being like orphan kind of energy. So it was kind of like a tradition for them to check in on me at Christmas time.
Right.
So it'd been a long while. This would probably be like a whole year after. And he sent me like a happy Christmas, I hope you're well, after all of this. And I'm like,
is this the first time you've heard from
first
him
time
since he
I've
left
heard
your house?
from him,
Either of them?
other than a little bit of texting after leaving my house since then. So it's been like a year and a half, 2 years.
Not
or
on
something.
No.
Like,
no.
Just pick your moment, man. You've missed the moment. It's
Yes.
gone.
You were a coward, and because you're a coward,
It just blew up.
yep.
So, so you remember that time where I chose to not fight dirty?
Oh. Yes, I remember saying that. It's just minutes
Alex,
ago.
what
was
did
it?
you do?
So I still had Charlotte's number in my phone. To this day, I don't know if this message sent, but I'm pretty really proud of myself.
So we're hoping it did. And
Took a
assuming it did.
screenshot of his message, sent it to her, and said, "Tell your husband to stop texting me."
Husband has so much weight now as well. Doesn't it have weight? Tell your husband.
Yeah.
Because nothing ever happened between us. Like,
Yes,
but I was like, I
just-
feel like this weird lover that's like ruined it. Like, oh
Yeah.
God. But that
Yeah,
was just my like, fuck you, dude. Like,
Yeah.
just talk to your wife. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, yeah,
But that is-
wonderful justification for playing dirt, for getting a bit dirty.
That was my little bit of getting
I think that was less getting dirty and more
fine.
just, smoke bombing. Like it's just kind of like a
Yeah.
nice little sprinkle of
sprinkle of
spice.
shit on the
It's not even that. Yeah, to be fair, it's not even that dirty.
No,
really.
it's just
Yeah.
nice.
You can hold your head high on that one.
Yeah.
It's a weird scenario you found yourself in, Alice, because you've kind of been an innocent bystander that got shot, and then it's like, why did you get shot by my bullets? They cost me a lot of money. Like you're like, I was just here and I tried to help, and I made a lot of correct decisions, and maybe like one poor one or misthought or unguided one.
It's funny you say that because I've told this story a couple times to people and I've got really mixed reactions. And to put it quite bluntly, it's kind of similar to like the faces Liz was making before and Tom was going, no, that's fine. Where I feel like a lot of women have been scorned in a situation like this. And a lot of men are like, no, it's harmless, it's fine.
Yes.
And it's almost like also for Charlotte and Bryce, it's like a heterosexual relationship. So like having some of those dynamics come into play when I ask like heterosexual friends and But like, everyone has a really different take on it. And it's just been this thing that sits in the back of my brain going, did I do the right thing? Was there even a right option?
I'm not sure there was a right option at that point.
Maybe not, yeah.
And my take is two people in a relationship treated a third person very poorly at different times.
Yes.
And should have just turn to your right and you turn to your left and talk to each other rather than your friend put all this unloaded on you in a really unhealthy and unhappy and unfortunate kind of way. She should never have done that. I don't know where that came from. If it's a stressor in her relationship and the pair of them just need to talk out, I don't know. But yes, very very unfortunate with how you were treated.
Do you or have you? Do you speak to her anymore? No, right.
Literally, last thing I would have said was
Tell your husband to stop message me. Okay, so here's my take on it. I think that it was very difficult for you to find a right way out of that situation. However, if it were me, and I'm not saying that my way is right either, but my knee-jerk reaction would have been to find a way to turn him around to go back to her quicker. In my head, right, my loyalty is to my best friend, not to the boyfriend, right? So if it was my best friend and the boyfriend turned up, even if I'd kind of bonded, I feel like there'd be something in me going, you can't put me in that position to tell me not to tell her because we are best friends, but you can stay here as long as we tell her what's happening right now.
Yeah.
But then that could have blown up more immediately. I don't know. But in my opinion, when you are friends with someone and then you become friends with the husband, I feel like the loyalty's always a little bit more towards the friend, right?
It's very difficult for Elizabeth and I to comment on a lot of these stories because you, Alice, you know these relationships and you know these people, and we're sort of reacting to events. And I'm not saying these are right or wrong, but there's probably space for you to say to Bryce, you're being selfish in how you're treating me, or what you're putting on me in this moment, or what you're asking of me. There's probably room for, or there could have been room for that.
I feel like it's rather than you're being selfish. It's I will help you, but we need to let Charlotte know where you are.
Because
right
in that
now.
moment, all he's worried about is Charlotte, right? And his relationship with Charlotte. So you're blind then for what you're dumping on other people without explanations and without conversations. Unless it's
I'm shopping for Christmas presents for her and I don't want her to know.
Yeah.
There is no circumstance in which a boyfriend would come to me and say, don't tell my friend this, unless it's a positive thing. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I know that's probably a little bit black and white, and in this situation it would be very difficult to judge. And again, I'm not saying here's what I'd do and it's better than what you did. No. But because I don't think that is.
I don't think I was a saint.
No,
I think it's a panicked decisions you just got and went for them.
And you got stuck in a really shitty situation where two people didn't consider you. But I think that also, like, he was a coward, absolutely. And what I've learned is when you tell someone they have to tell someone something, or you need to follow that up a lot quicker than a week.
I think you
I followed it up the next day. It's just he was like conveniently avoiding
Yeah.
giving me a straight answer.
Yeah. And that's when you say, if you don't tell her,
That's where I
I'ma
really
do
should have
it.
just been like, this is your deadline. I should have been harsher with him after then.
So is that your lessons learned as we meander to the end of
My
this
lesson
episode?
learned.
Is that you should have that sort of thing you should have made firm or clear? I don't know.
It's hard because like I should also preface that like him and I weren't best of friends. I think there were chords that were struck between us that was like the things that you can't bond with Charlotte over. Like it was just honestly, it was a lot of the family stuff.
Yeah.
Him feeling like this
He
oddball. And I was
gravitated-
like, I'm an oddball too.
Yeah.
You're fine. Nothing's wrong.
That's
with you.
linked to my lessons learned, and it's not really a lesson, but sometimes in life, it's nice to be the person it's nice to be the person that seeks you that when someone comes to you at a party,
You're the safe haven.
Yeah, it's nice. It's sometimes nice in the right circumstances when it's positive and nice. It's nice to be that person. So if that's happening to you, dear reader, that can be nice. Appreciate that. But also, if you are that person that's pivots to someone or only one person, you try and. I don't know. It's try and rack your brain. All right, at certain social settings, am I putting myself on someone and someone only, and asking too much of them, or becoming over familiar in a misstep? Yeah. So it can be a lovely thing. It can be a burden. It can be a fucking burden when someone says like, "Oi, I'm back again with all my drama and strife. Here we go."
I mean, I've
it can be
definitely, if I've had like a recent breakup that was really brutal and rattled me around a lot, and I could see myself becoming that person onto other people, and it was just kind of this like, don't be like Bryce, don't be like Charlotte and Bryce, like that's a cautionary tale, and you must learn from that on some level.
Yes, you are allowed to reach out.
You can vent and be a mess, but then when you put that onus on somebody else, that's not fair. But then it's this,
I have two lessons.
Nuanced.
I have two lessons learned. My first lesson is that if somebody asks you to keep a secret from them, from someone that you love, I would ask why.
Yep, I would need a good reason. Come
I would
on, give me
need
some reasons.
an impeccable reason to do that. And I think that if they are adamant about it, I'd say, okay, well, you need to tell them now, and then we can continue with me helping you. And the second lesson is, don't woulda, shoulda, coulda yourself, because it's happened. It's done.
Yes.
People showed you who they were. You lost some friends that might have seemed a bit sad at the time, but if anyone's willing to throw you that hard under the fucking bus, Jesus Christ.
It was a violent throw.
Yeah, exactly. So what I think as much as it is an admirable part of your character, Alice, that you are trying to figure out how you could have done better in that situation, I think that that's just going to hurt your own feelings from here on in. It's good for us to debate it for people who might be listening at home. And it's good for you to learn from, so that in the future you can go, well, if that ever happened to me again, here's what I do. But I'm not sure that looking back on butterfly affecting it and figuring out how one tiny thing that you did could have changed something for the better or for the worse is going to do anything but hurt your own feelings.
Yes, sometimes in life you can really learn from a bad or negative experience. Sometimes it's good to have like an outline of a body on the floor and you can all gather around it and be like, well, what went wrong here? And
I feel like it was the murder, Tom. I feel like it was the murder.
But you do a bad stand-ups comedy set, right? And you bomb and everything goes bad. Sometimes it's nice to go, well, what went wrong there? And you can apply that to you can lessons learned. And the next time with this high schooly weird bitchy drama that comes your way, you might be able to handle it better. Or the Bryce scenario, getting that phone call and all that down.
And also now that we're older and wiser, if somebody invites
100%.
you into a group chat and starts attacking you,
Oh yes,
Get out of there.
You don't have to take.
you don't have to take it. You're a grown-ass person who can say, talk to me in person. And between the two of us, and I'm out of here.
Yes,
Alice has left the chat.
very, very wise.
Oh, man.
Well, readers, we thank Alice for sharing her story today. Very bold, very brave.
I do love you calling them readers.
Yeah.
I have.
It has been since the start, and I don't know where it came from, but I've always found it charming.
I will give you an answer. First of all, our readers, I see them as very well read, very intelligent, and sort of a step above yes, I can't call them listeners alone. These are readers that are
They're
tuning in.
inquiring minds.
And also in the
Dignified.
it's a nod to old school agony aunt,
The dear reader. Yeah.
where they would
Oh, of
respond,
course.
"Dear reader, here is the solution."
I love it.
So it's a
Yeah.
it's a twofer. It's a twofer.
And I've always found it so charming that I've never said anything about it. And I was like, right, this is what we do now.
But no, I
No one question it. Thank
but
you.
no,
and good night.
I do not believe that early dementia or anything like that is setting in, and he gets confused about some things. He thinks you're all.
He doesn't understand what the podcast.
He thinks it's live every week. No, so that's why, dear readers, I think highly of you, and it's a
I
little
love it.
nod to relationship help in the past. There
So
you go.
I really love that today we were talking about being relationship adjacent, and because sometimes relationships is learning how to handle other people's relationships and how to navigate if your friend is in an odd relationship, or how to navigate if one person from a friendship group comes to you and talks to you about their partner and then their partner always also comes. Like, it is a minefield. So if you have any stories about how you have been either an unofficial relationship therapist for another couple in your life, or if you have found yourself in an awkward situation between two people, like, have you watched two friends go through a
Yes.
divorce,
Have
and
you
what do
ever
you
been
do with that?
pulled into the churning more of
The
a
days of our
cyclone
lives.
that is someone else's relationship, that is someone else's wedding planning. Good Lord, let us know. We would love to hear
Have
it.
you ever been kicked out of a wedding, or have you kicked yourself out of a wedding? I
I
want to
wonder-
know these stories.
Oh, kicked yourself out of a wedding would
Yeah,
be
like
Salivating for
have
those.
you removed yourself from a situation because you can't
Because
deal with the
If
drama?
you're joining, I still have that bridesmaid's dress, which is real sad.
Aw.
Because in many ways, like, for a while, I was like, oh, I can't part with it. I feel weird and sad. And then I was like, no, I'm never going to wear
Did
this.
they
I will
all-
try to sell it on Marketplace Gumtree. No one would touch it. No one would touch it. And I was like, this is cursed.
I know what dress that was too.
Oh,
I remember seeing that. Oh,
Yeah, so
Well, you
wow.
keep your-
if you want
if you want a cursed dress.
bridesmaid's dress that
Can
may
I
or may
ask,
not be cursed,
Did they
I'll
wear,
give it away.
Did they wear the same dresses, or did they get a whole new design when you saw the photos?
It was like that color palette mismatchy thing.
Oh, lovely.
So
yeah.
honestly, I love that for weddings
Yep.
because
Yep,
then
oh,
you don't
fine.
all get forced into one thing.
I reckon if you cut that dress off above the knee, it would be super cute to wear out. I've seen it. It's pretty.
Thank you.
We'll
Yeah.
brainstorm
Too kind.
uses for the dress off
And then
mic.
if someone goes, "Where'd you get that?" I'll be like, "Oh, where?"
Here's a podcast you should
Yes.
listen to.
Oh no.
Speaking of, if you can recommend the podcast to one person this week, that
Yes.
would be real happy about that.
Yes,
I'd be real
please.
grateful. Like we normally ask you to rate, review, subscribe, but tell one person this week about this podcast, especially if they are in a situation where they are stuck between two people in a couple and they don't know what to do.
Yes.
In the
Wink, wink,
meantime-
nudge, nudge.
If you would like to be a guest on our podcast, you can go to That's Not Canon /Ghosts of Boyfriends Past. There is a really handy dandy form to fill out where you can give us the Cliff's Notes version of your story, and we will give you a call. Hopefully, we will read them all and we will select who we'd love to have on air. Also, check your junk mail if you have sent us in something, because sometimes we get junked because Gmail hates us.
And just medically, check your junk.
Check your junk. Just check your junk.
It's an important thing to do, I think.
Check your boobs.
As you were.
Check everything.
Yes. I wasn't going to list body parts.
Thank you for this PSA and good night.